Welcome back. In the last video, we saw the align self property, which was a very important property in case you have to align a particular flex item. In this video, we are going to have a look at flex grow and flex shrink properties. You might have already guessed from the name that these properties actually help the elements to grow or shrink on the remaining space in the parent container. So it is very simple, but listen to me very carefully here because it is something that almost everyone gets confused about. So this flex grow property specifies how much a flex item will grow relative, like just pay a lot of attention to here. A flex item will grow relative to the rest of the flex items. It's not absolute, it's not the absolute ratio as well. So let me tell you a simple example. So it is a ratio. For example, I want my flex second element and the third element to grow and not the element 1 to grow. So by default, all the items have a flex grow of 0, which means they don't occupy much more space than what they are allotted to. Now, if I want to use the remaining space, let's say if I want to use the remaining space equally, I'll set all the items to have a flex grow of 1. That's very simple. But now, let's say if I want item 3 to grow more than item 2. Now I can set the flex grow in the ratio 1:2. But something that is really important to notice here is that if I set the flex grow of item 2 as 1 and if I set the flex grow of item 3 as 2, the final width will not be in the ratio 1:2. It's just that the remaining area will be divided in the ratio 1:2. So listen to me once again. For example, let's say item 2 is of 100 pixels and let's say item 3 is of 100 pixels as well, and the remaining space is 60 pixels. Now 100 and this is 60, although it does not seem to be the case here, but just imagine it to be. I'm just explaining you the concepts. So just imagine it to be again 100 and 60. Now if I put a flex grow of 1 on this and a flex grow of 2 on this, then it will occupy 1 by 3, which is 1 by 1 plus 2 of 60, and this will occupy 2/3 of 60, which means 20 pixels from here will be allocated to item 2 and 40 pixels from here will be allocated to item 3, which means item 2 will be 120 pixels and item 3 will be 140 pixels, which means 120 and 140. So even though this is 1 and even though this is 2, 1:2, that does not mean the width is going to be in the ratio 1:2. It just means the growth will be relative. The growth will be in the ratio 1:2. I hope that was clear. And now let's see it in action. Let's click on the flex grow and let's open our boilerplate code as well. Let's go inside flex grow property and let's open the flexgrows.css as well. And here very quickly I'll just do one thing. Let's see how it is going on. Awesome. So it's like this, and yeah, I'll open it here and let's put every sample, like every element, to have a flex grow of 1 after this. But just to show you that these have a flex grow of 0 by default, or flex grow of 0 means that they are not going to grow, I'll just show you this simple thing. So I'll just select all the sample 1 child elements of sample 1 using the selector. Not this one, let's do like this. Yeah, let's do it like this, and then let's put a flex grow of 0. So now you can see nothing has changed. Now let's copy and paste this once again very quickly. Let's copy and paste this and then let's change it to 1. So now all of these will occupy the remaining space. Let me tell you how. Sample 2 and sample 2, all the things inside sample 2 will have a flex grow of 1, which means they will grow equally. So as I told you, the growth will be equal, so all of them will grow relatively in equal speed. All of them have flex grow of 1. Now let's say if I want the thing that I was telling you, if I want 2 to grow in a ratio, 2 and 3 to grow in a ratio 1:2, something like that, I can do something like this. Item 1 and item, or let's say item 2 and item 3 grow in a ratio 1:2. Let's name it as sample 3, and let's do let's take it here, and sample 3 and div of init child of 2 is going to be flex grow of 1, and then the third one is going to have it as 2. So yeah, they grow in the ratio 1:2. Although you can easily measure that the width of these two elements would not be in the ratio 1:2. Let me show you. So if I do this, the width is around let's say, just a second, I'll increase it a little bit, and yeah, so you can see it's around 162, and if I see this one, it's around 261. 162 and is 261 is not the double of 162. So as you can see, it's the width won't be in the ratio 1:2, but the growth will be in the ratio 1:2. The remaining space that they occupied will be in the ratio 1:2. I hope you got this. So this is something where a lot of people actually confuse the concepts. So yeah, like they get confused in this concept, and this is something which you will not, because you have already understood the flex grow. Before ending this video, let's have a look at flex shrink as well, because it's very similar. Just like in flex grow, we used to grow the element, flex shrink property defines how much a flex item will shrink relative to the rest of the flex items. And so here we can see various use cases. For example, let's say if we don't want 2 to shrink, and we want 1 and 2 to shrink as much as they can. So in here we can provide the flex shrink or as 0 to item 2. So again, the more the flex shrink, the more will the element shrink. Another simple example could be, let's say if we want item 2 to shrink more than item 1 and item 3 to shrink more than item 2. So we can provide the highest value to item 3 and a little less to item 2 and the least to item 1. Let me tell you how it's done by going back to the boilerplate. So let's open the boilerplate code again, and yeah, we have the flex shrink here. So awesome. So let's first of all consider the case of flex shrink as 1, because in 1 nothing will change. Flex shrink is equal to 1. By default, everything has flex shrink of 1, so nothing actually changed here. Now let's say if I don't want item 2 to shrink and I want others to shrink as much as they can. So in that case, I can just provide 0. 0 is the minimum value, and that's why it will shrink the least when compared to item 2 and item 3. Awesome. Let's copy and paste this text from here just to provide a correct description. So yeah, do not let item 2 shrink, and let's change it to sample 2. Let's copy this and let's do this. Div and its child and second child. I'm going to put a flex shrink of 0 to item 2, and as you can see here, 2 did not shrink, rather it expanded because it had the value least in when compared to these 3. And now let's have a look at one final example. So I don't think you might find yourself using flex shrink property a lot, but still it's always good to have a knowledge of what this property actually does. Let's complete this, and yeah, so in this case, item 2 is allowed to shrink more than item 1, and 3 is allowed to shrink more than item 2. Let's provide these values. So item 2 is allowed to shrink more than item 1, which means let's say I can provide 2 to item 2, and let's say I provide 3 to item 3, and that will be a very good example. Awesome. So let's do this. Awesome. So as you can see, item 2 is allowed to shrink more than item 1, and item 3 is allowed to shrink more than item 2. As you can see here, the width of item 3 is the minimum, 2 in between, and the width of item 1 is the maximum. So I hope you are clear with the flex grow as well as flex shrink properties. In the next video, I am going to tell you about two properties. First one is flex basis, and the third one is the flex property. Awesome. That's very simple, and I hope you are understanding by now that Flexbox is something super simple, and it makes our life so easy. So I hope that after this videos you are going to implement Flexbox in your upcoming projects. See you in the final video, next video. Bye bye.